Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. We got another awesome episode today. We have my man from Twitter, Money Twitter representing. We got my man, Michael Wisco, who's a private label Amazon seller and has only been in the game about a year and a half and already full-time, made the shift from being CPA to now being a full-time Amazon seller. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Excited to dive into his story, upbringing with Amazon, how he got into it, and all that in another awesome episode today. So Michael, how you doing, my man?
I'm good, Miles. How you living, brother?
Yeah, we're good. We're excited to have you on. Definitely just our first private label seller, kind of, new niche of Amazon we're going to get into, and we'll hopefully have some more on in the future, but excited to kind of dive into that. And for those of our viewers who don't know, private labels where you actually go ahead and create your own brand. What Danny, Garrett, and myself do, we do arbitrage where we sell name brand products, like we resell and we flip them. We don't actually like manufacture them or anything like that, which is what Michael does with his own brands. So do you want to just take us back to the start and kind of how you found Amazon like a year and a half ago or whatever, like we said offline, and just kind of talk about your story and how you found everything? Because I think that'll give some good context moving forward in the episode.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, went to school, got my undergrad and graduate, taking you all the way back, got accounting degrees, right? And then staff of the CPA, started out my career, kind of thought I was doing everything right until, day 4 of my career. And you realize this is it, huh? This is what all that fancy paperwork was for. But, fast forward all the way. So I'm 29 now. So I worked for about 4 or 5 years at some big firms, started out at Deloitte, went to VC, financial consulting, and was always just like, this is not me, right? Like there's no autonomy throughout my day. I'm staring at an Excel screen 10, 12 hours a day. This is whack, right? So
that 10, 12 hours a day doesn't sound great. It's interesting. There's a couple ex-Deloitte guys on Money Twitter, I think.
Ryan, who's at FBA Investor, who is my business partner, worked in the management consulting side of Deloitte.
Interesting. In the UK, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Find it out until we were doing discovery calls for our program, and we take everyone through the journey, right? And we both said that on the same call.
That's crazy.
But anyway, so yeah, I that's kind of the backstory. And then my first dip of the toe into online business was in 2018. I did the how to make money online Google search, right? We all it's ground zero. And then, so I landed in local lead generation, and that's what I still have that business today. Basically middle market US towns, like 100K to 500K, high ticket blue collar,
like roofing. That type of stuff.
You're on it, bro.
Yeah.
And so I did that, built lead generation sites. It was cool. It was a side hustle. Still is. Have clients on monthly subscription. Never really felt like I could scale it. One, SEO is just kind of boring too, because if you do it right, your site just ranks in 60 days and then it's there. It's not like there's no dynamic aspect of it, right? And then I didn't think I could sell it. So I was just doing my thing, working. And then March 2020 hit. Yeah. And for the first time, I was working from home. And so everything that made the corporate world bearable, the travel, corporate credit card, just seeing people, honestly. Right. Yeah, for real. The being able to swipe an Amex was dope. But all that taken away, you're like, okay,
this is the beginning of COVID, right? March 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the trigger, really. And then so I re-upped the Google search, but I thought this time I need to do something that's kind of sellable and sustainable. And I want something that I see in the market sound like where businesses are valued at a certain point. I came from venture capital world. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just kind of wanted something more tangible, right? Didn't want a side hustle. If I was going to send it, for lack of a better word. Like I want to know I'm building some asset value. And so found Amazon, understood the retail model. I mean, who the hell doesn't understand retail? It's been going on for like thousands of years. And then no brick and mortar was great.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, so lean, so low risk.
Yeah. And it's like, so it had what I wanted in a business model I understood, and then nothing I didn't want in terms of inventory, signing a lease, doing all the, what came with old retail, nothing was in current Amazon FBA. So I started, dove into product research, launched my first product. I think made my first sale the last day of May 2020. Really by the end of the year, I was making more on Amazon profits than I was from CPA salary, which is wild.
Yeah,
And
especially for just starting something so, so kind of out of nowhere across a few months.
Dude, 100%. And it wasn't like I was putting in, like, you can't put in like 10 hours a day. There's just nothing more to do.
Yeah, it's more so dependent on like knowledge or money, just like
Right.
a few different things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then at that point, I saw the writing on the wall. Right before Christmas, quit the job, walked away from the CPA world, started out this year just building my private label business.
Yeah.
From Costa Rica and Colombia.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, I was pretty sure you were a traveler too.
Yeah.
How long did you spend in those countries?
Almost 3 months. I spent like 35 to 40 days in each, and then came back. And then at that point, you have a lot more free time when you're running your Amazon business versus what I was used to in terms of like all day your schedule.
Right.
So then I started, networking, and first I started helping out buddies get into Amazon.
Yeah.
And then through that, it's like once you teach your homie, you understand, oh, I can teach a bunch of other people. And I know from my old world, most people aren't enjoying what they're doing day to day and would love some way out. So then I dedicated like half my time to education, courses, mentoring, and
the Twitter stuff. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of right, like, and I'll just start out. So in March you found, in May you made your first sale. There's a decent amount of upfront work that goes into actually starting a brand, like finding the product. Was it like Alibaba you were using, or were you sourcing stuff domestically, or just kind of walk us through the process of that 0 to the first sale? And then maybe later in the interview, we'll talk about like scaling the brand, PPC strategy and all that. But just what was that first part like?
Yeah, the first part was because it is different in private label. You
different. Yeah.
You need to go direct sourcing. It's a lot more, there is more upfront work.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly, it takes longer to get products in. But basically, before I did anything in terms of even communicating with suppliers or buying things, I just tried to understand the data of what I was seeing in terms of product listing sales and customer search in keywords. So yeah, I just went through 2 or 3 weeks and just like comb through all that data, tried to understand what made a good niche. Okay, these products are doing these sales with these keywords, and then this product's doing like the same amount of sales but has way less keywords. I started to find patterns, but like in general, the sourcing is, once I found the niche, I just reached out via Alibaba, and found, just through kind of videos I'd watched at that point, worked with like verified and trade assurance suppliers in Alibaba. So like somewhat already vetted factories, and then communicated what I was looking for, what my brand was. And I didn't really have a brand at that point, but I was just
what you envisioned it. Yeah.
Exactly. Presenting myself as a little bit more of a company, assuming I would be soon, which did happen. But then really just a good private label product, you need to differentiate a little, and you want to use the same demand, but you want to, whether it's just on the actual product, reading, customer reviews or just sampling a couple of your competitors and being like, okay, I could make this better. That's one way. Or you could just improve the listing, copy, pictures, videos. On the first listing, made a differentiation to the product. So worked with the manufacturer to actually source it, make sure what I wanted was right, sample tested that, and then really just ordered a couple hundred and was on my way.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
When you're looking
and
for that,
oh, you got it, Garrett.
I was just gonna say, so when you're looking for that niche, right, what you're really looking for is a niche where there's demand and lack of supply or lack of profitable listings. Is that really what it comes down to?
yeah, man, I never want to create demand on Amazon, right? The whole point of using Amazon and not going on your own site is that you have built-in demand. And
Yeah,
you
people
have,
are already searching.
Can
Yeah.
like exploit blank areas.
yeah. And like the difference between running your own Shopify where you're sending Facebook ads and you're interrupting people today who are on Facebook, Instagram, talking to friends.
It's a good way to put it.
Doing what people do on social media versus a customer searching, Gatorade bottle, and then you have a Gatorade bottle and being there, it's like that direct route. So you want to make sure the keywords you're searching for, whatever product you bring, you'll still be you'll still show up for those keywords and not change it too much.
Yeah. And
Like-
were you using any tools to do that? Like
Helium
softwares or
10,
anything? Mhm,
Helium 10. Yeah. I'm not quite sure. I know you guys have a different software suite on the OA.
Yes, interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What do you guys use?
So mainly keep inventory lab, and then
Tactical arbitrage.
yeah, none of us really do right now, but we did a lot. We kind of all came up like back in March, April together. We used that a lot at the start. And then like repricing, obviously, because we have competition on direct listings with other people.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there any value in a repricer in the PL space?
Well, there is if your product's not selling well. So I have
that makes sense. Yeah.
And then, but otherwise you want your price to be stable, or you basically, because you're not fighting for the buy box.
That's a good
Right,
point.
right.
Yeah. That, which is something I think some of our viewers might want clarification on, basically. So what Danny, Garrett, and I do is we sell other people's products, Nike's products, and therefore there's other people on those specific Amazon listings, right? Like Nike shoe 1 size 9.5, there might be 6 sellers on it, where what Michael's doing is he's actually going ahead and creating a listing, and then he's the only seller on it, and anyone else that for whatever reason try to list on that listing, you can kick them off.
Yeah, 100%. And so there's more value in having price stability on a private label listing than there is in saying, because you can reprice. I have tried it, and it messes up your rankings, because a good private label product is known, it's $29.99 and that's the price.
Yeah.
If Amazon sees you jumping to 27 to 32, like all over the board, it's going to hurt your rankings. So if you're fighting for the buy box, I feel like it's crucial. And you probably know better than me on that.
Yeah.
But
What was the-
I would go ahead.
I was just gonna, what is the process, the thought process that goes into setting that initial price?
A lot of analysis on your competition, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like you can't use anything but kind of the same thing that I was touching on in keyword search. You don't want to try to reinvent anything on Amazon. So if you're coming in and you're like, I see some of my students be like, well, I feel like I differentiated. Most people are selling between 35 and 40, but this is good enough for I'm going to sell it at like 44 or 49. You don't really want to do that. You want to fall somewhere within the price range, because the Amazon customer is a quick buy. It's, like people aren't necessarily doing the due diligence that you are putting into your product. So I really just analyze my competition and then say, do I want to fall in on the bottom end or the top end of this range?
Yep. A lot of people talk about review count being super important for private label. Me as an Amazon consumer, I'm always looking at the review count. Were there any like tricks or like review services you use to get those initial reviews at the start? Because I assume those are huge, both from an SEO perspective and just from a logical consumer behavior perspective.
100%. So this is the touchiest and most debated private label because letter of the law, Amazon says you cannot do anything to help get reviews, right?
Yeah, Garrett made that mistake back in the day.
People, if you're very blatant, so there's like anything, there's white hat, there's black hat, there's gray hat, and so you definitely can't have any of your friends, family, or I've heard it's anyone who's Facebook friends with you, anyone who's been on the same.
I've heard that too. I wouldn't go as far as saying that off of. We don't have to get too specific into it, but yeah, it is interesting with the third-party data sharing.
Yeah.
It is interesting. Yeah.
So to get reviews, there are review sites, but you have to be careful there because if you pay a service to get reviews, that's still technically against Amazon's.
It should be. Yeah.
And so I knew that going in. So I've had, that's where the benefit of like private Discord groups are, where it's people you don't really know other than your community.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of review exchanges like that. I've also
cool.
What one of my keys for launching, and this might be jumping ahead, but it also helps reviews, is launch because you're dead, right, bro? So launching with 0 reviews, it's like no one's going to choose you over.
Exactly. Yeah. People have people have no, like they have no proof that anyone's ever bought that product.
Social proof. Yeah. You need it. So what you can do is list your product on rebate sites. And it really helps your launch. So you list on rebate sites for like 75, 90% off. People on there claim the rebate, but then they still go to Amazon, purchase the full price product. So Amazon's algorithm saying, oh, people are buying this for full price. So you don't have to slash it on Amazon. And then through that communication, you can ask for reviews, just like honest reviews there. And someone who gets a 90% discount, typically it's like way higher.
Yeah, true.
Right. So that's really how I do it. That's white hat. The other way is gray, and I do both. So, but you really want to be careful because people's accounts get terminated. If you have your mom do it, I mean, it'll probably just get flagged and denied. But if you keep trying to do it, you will get shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So the rebate way is within Amazon's terms of service.
Correct. Yeah. Well, because you're not asking, you got to be careful. I've gone deep into.
Well, I don't want to say it's within it, but it's not. They don't explicitly say you can't do it.
I've heard it's a significant gray area.
Exactly.
Amazon's terms of service.
And so I teach this now, so I had to dive into it. It is within the terms of service if you don't ask for a 5-star review.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought it was something like that.
You have to say, and what I have in my template is just like, hope you enjoyed the product. Something about receiving a discount. If you're enjoying it, please leave a review. But you can't say, hey, I gave you a $20 discount, leave me a 5-star review. That's blatant.
Yes.
Are you able to, because I know a while ago, like when I would order things on Amazon, I would get these cards in the packages saying like, leave us a 5-star review. So I know you said you can't say leave a 5-star review, but are you able to still leave physical cards in the packages anymore? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. I actually saw someone who will have on the podcast in the future. This dude John, he was talking about it the other day. That you just can't ask for like a 5-star.
I remember like 3 years ago, it was like every package I ordered was like, like here's like $20, leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah, the product inserts is what those are called. You can 100% have those, but you can't again, and I think it is recent. I think it's like last 2 years, and you can't incentivize a 5-star review, but you can ask for reviews. You just can't say
Right.
5-star or bust. But yeah, product inserts are key. You can put QR codes on that. It's how you get like customer emails. You can do a lot of
Oh,
things.
I like that. Okay. Yeah. So I was actually going to ask about that. So do you within like your sales channels, obviously Amazon, do you use any other sales channels, whether it be like email marketing? Can you do that through Amazon's platform?
No,
You
no, no, no.
can't.
So
Wow.
Amazon,
Okay.
so I do, to answer your question first, yeah, I sell everywhere, Shopify, eBay,
Oh,
everywhere
word.
you
Okay,
buy
cool.
things online, my brand is listed in
Yeah.
replication of the Amazon listing, but
Mhm.
then, and probably get like 15% of Amazon sales off Amazon and all those channels combined. 'Cause I don't really do paid ads, but
Yeah.
no, Amazon won't let you get any customer data.
Oh,
So
that's rough. Yeah.
even enough, this is wild that buyers can message you. You can if you buy something on Amazon, you can message someone saying like, it
Yeah.
doesn't work. If you ask for their email and like address, if they shoot you their address, that'll show up, but their email gets automatically removed from the chat.
Man.
Amazon is not letting you have it. So that's their whole thing is they want
to keep everyone on the platform.
I think they either got or they're getting sued about customer data right now and giving it over to the third-party sellers to kind of make it more fair for the third-party sellers.
Yeah, there's a
compete with
bunch of
Amazon.
things like that. Like there's Amazon copying people's listings and stuff. There's obviously search. There's like I'm sure Amazon's products rank better in search and stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I
You're
kind of
right.
think that's just like part of the game, though. I mean,
I kind of do too. The
it's
search,
their
it
platform.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's
Like,
killer because
that's
that's
something,
why you got to diversify, man. That's why I say
Yeah.
it all the time. That's why content's so important. That's why branding's so important. That's why you got to have your hands in other places.
Scott
That's
Needham
why
talks
product
about that.
research is so important, because if you go into competitive of a niche and you start crushing it, well, Amazon's gonna come in.
Yes, if they see a big enough opportunity. Yeah, what are some of the really saturated niches? I'd assume like beauty, probably that kind of stuff.
I think I know
Skincare.
one. Yoga mats.
Yeah, yoga mats is not good. To be honest, sports and fitness is super saturated because every third-party seller wants to start a sports and fitness brand.
Right.
And so that's one. Right now, baby products are getting oversaturated just because it's such a, you want products that are somewhat replenishable.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah. Do you know Kobe Gatsby on Twitter?
Yeah.
So someone asked him, I really want to have him on. That's my guy. He asked someone asked him like, what's the best product to sell? And he responded, whatever people buy over and over again. Which was a really good answer. Yeah, he's like a Shopify guy, like ecom brands and stuff like that. But yeah, you were saying, sorry?
Oh no. What was I saying? Oh, like
replenishability. Yeah.
Baby products don't have to be replenishable in like the traditional way. A traditional replenishable is like supplements.
Toilet paper.
Right.
Yeah. 30 days you need new. But baby products are kind of replenishable just because there's a new group of 1-year-olds every year. So if you're selling
verified true.
Of course.
Confirmed people produce children. Yeah. But lost my train of thought. But if you're selling to 44-year-olds, it like that market doesn't change year after year. So you don't have like this new. It's kind of like, well, a 36-year-old and a 54-year-old buy the same shit. But if you sell to 1-year-olds, people have new children every year.
And
so
people have connection to specific stuff like that. Like I'm sure parents have specific connections to brands like that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of your main brand, is that the only brand you have right now?
That's the only Amazon brand.
Yeah. Is it just one product or are there multiple products in the suite?
No, I have about 13 private label products.
That is about 12 more than I expected you to say.
Under one brand?
That's cool. Yeah, under the
Yeah.
same brand.
Okay.
That's very
Oh.
interesting. And how did you go about rolling those out? And what's your thought process? How do you go about like, all right, that was a lot
Huh.
more than I expected you to
Give it
say.
up,
So
yeah.
I'd love to hear like how you go about creating new stuff. You know, are you using the same factory? Is you using different ones? All that.
So my view on Amazon private label is you go reverse traditional branding model. So traditional would be build the brand, fill in the products underneath. And so that, I think that's wrong on Amazon. I think you build the products. So what I basically did for my first 18 months was know that Pareto's Law 80/20, not every product's going to crush it. So I did a lot of launches pretty shortly because I knew not everyone was going to crush it. And then a couple crushed it. And then I built my brand around those products that crushed it, and didn't, some products I'll just keep on and not have my brand focus around those. And then some products I just don't restock when they're out. And then every new product now, about 18 months in, will be in my primary brand focus point. And premium lighting is like where I have 3 of my top 5 sellers.
Ah, so you have like a brand page on it. It's interesting. Some of the biggest brands in the world don't have that. It's kind of interesting. Like on Amazon, it's weird.
Yeah, that's something that probably will be utilized more, but it's like, I don't ever, if I'm shopping on Amazon, I don't think I've ever gone to a brand website.
Oh, never. Yeah, no, I definitely
'Cause
haven't.
it's all product focused. Like,
Yes.
when you go on the homepage, it's just recommended for you products. It's all product focused.
Yeah, and that's the keyword, like that direct highway from keywords to products that you never had before. So, but yeah, to answer your question, it's just really try to figure out what sells best before, and then you do have to be somewhat strategic about a brand. Because if you're looking to sell it, which like I am down the road, I'm looking to exit in a couple of years. If your products could only be found together in like an arcade claw machine, then you don't really have like a brand, like you're hurting your long-term value.
Yeah.
So you want something that makes sense. The fewer, the shorter amount of products, the better if your revenue is there, to be honest. But you want to get to sales first.
You have 13 active products right now?
Yeah, 13 SKUs, and I think 8 unique listings, so some variations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So to give the viewer some perspective, how many total launches have you executed? Including failures, including things that didn't go well.
You want to talk about?
Oh, that's a good question. So 8 active, I think I've closed 3, so 11.
So pretty good success rate.
Yeah, I'd say definitely.
Yeah, but there's a couple right now that I'm just waiting to sell through. So it really, one of my products does more than 50% of my sales.
And that's not, that's like, $40,000-$50,000 a month. So that's clearly like for the like 50% metrics. That's really doing well. How are you getting traffic to the product besides just keyword and listing optimizations? Are you doing PPC?
Yeah, so a lot of on Amazon PPC.
Okay, cool.
And so I launched with PPC. Some people wait for like 10 reviews. I think
shoot.
Yeah, well, the algorithm, from what I've seen in terms of ranking organically, which is the end goal, you don't want to have to all through the product life, but the algorithm helps you for the keywords that you're paying for.
That makes sense. Yeah, as it should. And for our viewers who aren't familiar, PPC advertising is basically pay-per-click, where next time you go on Amazon and you search whatever, basketball, the listings that say sponsored, those are people who are paying for the keyword basketball to get in front of your eyes. This is the same thing that Michael's doing with his brands. Yep, so that makes sense.
Paying the most.
Paying the most. Yeah,
true.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, if you bid too low, you'll just never show.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's PPC is the most, in terms of time consuming. That's the only thing that takes decent amount of time. So if like I run most of my PPC is outsourced to.
Yeah, that was my next question. Yep, we can get into that. Yeah, we love talking about VAs, virtual assistants, outsourcing, all that. Before we get to VAs, who's sending your products to Amazon? Do you have a fulfillment set like a 3PL in the US, or do they go straight from China to Amazon?
I do have a 3PL, but I
Mhm.
try to avoid using it as much as possible.
Okay,
So
cool.
if like for Q4, I wanted to be safe because Q4 is wild. We all know that. So the last thing you want to do is run out of stock December 7th.
Mhm.
So I sent like 80% to Amazon, 20% to 3PL. Except my 3PL is actually in New Jersey, which I don't know.
Interesting. That is interesting. Because that's far from China compared to like Cali or something.
It's super cheap on storage, but
Mm.
that'll be something I reconsider because there's being in like Tulsa or just middle of the country would be.
Oh, really? I almost moved to Tulsa in March. Little known fact.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Story
I almost
story
wanted to go,
for
too, yeah.
story for another episode.
For business or personal?
Well, they
Kind
were
of both.
They
Yeah,
were
wait.
offering
I'll
incentives.
I'll tell you. We can talk about that offline. But yeah, interesting stuff, man. Definitely near. I don't think we brought up. You're located in Texas right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Austin. So
Austin.
from Seattle, live in Austin now.
Didn't know from Seattle, Amazon headquarters. Just everything good, I guess. Everything good comes out of there.
Was raised by Amazon, man.
Yes, absolutely.
So I have a quick question about your products. So are most of your listings like improvements on other listings, or are any of them like kind of brand new inventions?
All are improvements on that.
That's a good way to
And-
think about it. Yeah, just
Yeah.
literally.
I'm assuming that's the path of least resistance in terms of private label, right?
Yeah, if you can, I mean, that's the whole thing again. Like, if you're developing your own products, more power to you. You're
Yeah.
But like, then is that demand? Because the whole launch is based on product research, which is customer searches. So then, if you're creating something where you're like, I don't know if those searches still apply to this, then, well, you might have paid thousands to go through this product development, and then you don't have any customers. So no, mine are all variations of like prototypes already selling.
How much do you have to change a current product?
I was gonna
For-
ask that too.
you
Actually,
have
very
to-
similar.
In order to launch on Amazon, you have to be approved through brand registry, right?
No, you don't have to. You can still launch without, but you don't have access to certain types of video you can upload. If you go to the bottom of like the bottom part of the listing, you have a section that's called A+ content where you can put like all these pictures, all your brand story. If you aren't brand registered, it's just a block of text. You also can't kick anyone off your listing.
Which is big, I would assume. At least once you start doing numbers, yeah.
Yeah, someone can. Yeah, once you start doing numbers, people are going to jump on your listing. It's Amazon. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild, wild west out here. So no, you can sell without being brand registered, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Mhm.
Got it. So what is the indicator in terms of how much you have to alter?
That's a great question, but the like no quantitative number. Like if one of my products, the listings were so bad that other than putting my logo, ensuring there's no patents, you always have to do that.
Yeah.
Putting my
How do
logo,
you do that?
just like USPTO patent search.
Ah, okay.
So, yeah, you kind of have to dive through like legal jargon, but it's fine.
You can reverse search who owns brands on Amazon through that website actually.
Really? Whoa. Well, all right. That's interesting,
I don't
man.
know that. No,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, because you could see who owns the patent and then you just search that company up and see who owns the company. Usually you can
Danny,
find it.
investigative reporter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Danny, have you tried this before?
Yeah, I have.
Oh.
That's
I
such a
forget the
Danny thing
question.
to do.
Yeah. So how do you balance competition, like in terms of like opposite listings? 'Cause clearly, once other people see you having success in your review count, I'd assume sales rank as well. How do you like balance differentiating yourself when like you start coming under fire by competitors?
So that's where, yeah, I mean, a market's it's always changing, right? So
Yeah.
you want to differentiate, not based just on what you're seeing today, because even by the time you launch 60, 90 days later, it could be a little different, more competitive. So
Mhm.
you want to make sure you're, like I always say, if it's kind of a pain in the ass to go through, like with your manufacturer, that means you're doing enough. Because if you just say put my logo on it, if you just slap your logo on, change the listing, which I did that once too, and it works, but you're at risk of everyone doing that and copying you. So you just need to differentiate enough where someone wouldn't go through the same track of mind, like that would be somewhat weird. And even if they did, there's only 2 or 3 of you and 40 of the basic one. So
Yep. And so did you, when you were choosing that first product back in the day, did you choose the niche first, or did you choose like the product first? Like, did something from a software search stick out, or were you directly looking through like kind of different niches? Like, did you have a niche in mind?
no, luckily I didn't, because I
Mhm.
feel like that's what gets you. If you don't, I try to take myself out of all this, because
Okay, I was gonna ask that, yeah, because I talked to a really dope kid from Twitter who owns, and I'm not gonna get to, but he owns like a really female-based product type company, and it's like
yeah,
so random. And I'm curious if you're, so it's probably not in the type of like thing you would use or something like that based on that previous comment. Yeah. All right. So sorry about that. Danny was ill prepared and his computer died there for a second. But we kind of want to shift into talking about listing optimization and kind of your psychology, different tactics you use to make sure your listing converts as high as possible. That conversion rate obviously being what percentage of people that take a look at your product, that click on it, actually go ahead and buy it. I'd love to hear kind of the metrics on that as well.
yeah. So I mean, that goes back to, everything starts at how well you've set up your listing, because the difference is private label, you have to set up
Yep.
your
Pictures, videos, description, keywords, all that.
100%. So and before I get into that, like if you don't have a listing set up well, then you're running PPC to a garbage listing, and you're just going to burn money.
Burn money. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all bad, but you got to focus on, first, the most important part is the main photo. So you have to get that resolution is crucial. If you're
Crispy, as the kids say.
crispy, you got to have it crispy, and you got to have it. I do 2000 by 2000 pixels, and if you have it under, I forget what the actual point is, but if it's like under 1000, people can't scroll on it and zoom, and to the phone user, that's everything. So if they can't zoom and just manipulate your photos.
Are you doing renders of the product, or is it an actual picture of the product?
I was wondering that too.
That's a great question. So I've moved, unless it needs a human model, I get the render and then do a Photoshop expert, because if you send some like electronic to a photographer, well, you better hope their studio or wherever they are fits exactly what you want. But if you have the rendering in a Photoshop expert, like, it's infinite settings.
They can make it as clear as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And then you can keep going back and forth, and you don't have to, like, it's not like this pressure off of one shoot.
Right.
But if it does have models, I send it. I might do it both, but I send it to a photographer.
Yep. And one last thing you talk about a lot on the TL on Twitter is virtual assistants. So how do you kind of work to remove yourself from the day-to-day operations, and what are you utilizing VAs for?
As much as possible. So the biggest time suck in private label, and there's not too many, but is PPC, because if you're not tracking a couple times a week, almost daily, you could be burning money or not, just like doubling down on what's working. So what I didn't have any VAs like when I quit my CPA job and was still going full time. But once I learned everything, I just, for like 10 to 14 days, wrote down everything that I was doing. And overwhelming majority was like, okay, checking PPC, just PPC, PPC, PPC.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other day-to-day, responding to customers, managed inventory, creating shipments, all that. But then I just went to onlinejobs.ph.
Yeah, that's the plug. That's what we're fans
Great
of there
website,
as well.
great
Yeah.
website.
I think I'm an affiliate, but I don't know if I am. But and they're like, it's all in the Philippines, and
Yeah.
so everyone there speaks really good English, and like not even like if someone's running your business, you have to be able to communicate fluidly with them, and you have to know they're doing exactly what you want. So I just basically took that sheet of what I was doing and said, here's what I need. And then you have people who are running a couple different Amazon businesses. So like they come in, and I have one now running like the day-to-day, and then one, well, like two different one. My other PPC VA is not from that. I just found him on Upwork. But you basically just tell them what you need, and they're better at it than you because they've been doing it for years and have seen a bunch of different businesses. So yeah, man, as much as I would never outsource product research, because I just am like, that's how I got.
That's the highest ROI activity, I would assume.
100%. And it's like, that's how I got here. So it's like, I don't, maybe it's a little bit of pride even, but I'm like, I wouldn't fit if a product failed that I didn't find. I'm like, I want that. Like, that's my job. And then in betweens, if you can outsource.
Cool. All right. So one last question here before we finish up. So drastic change in the last 18 months of your life, going from CPA to online entrepreneur, doing a lot of cool different things. Okay, 2. Okay. So what do people, all right. So I guess we got boys and girls, we got a little time. So what do you tell people you do? Someone in real life asks you, what do you do? What do you say?
Dude, I'm getting better at it because it is a mouthful.
I struggle with this. I never know what to say. Depends.
Because it was just, I sell on Amazon, or like I have an Amazon brand, but it doesn't hit with the way that it should. So I tell them, I mean, which is what I do. I have an e-commerce brand primarily on Amazon, and then I do coaching,
personal brand.
Yeah, I do coaching and training for Amazon as well. So that's basically my mouthful. It's never smooth though. I got that. I'm working on it.
Gotcha. Yeah. And e-commerce pretty much. Yeah. I don't really talk about the social media part, to be honest, because I think that is something like people should stumble into, because it looks it gives such a bad impression. I think if you come at it like no, like if you know me in real life and it's like such a different world, you know what I mean? Like people talking about like numbers, different things and everything, trying to like market different products. And I think it's something they should organically find as they build a relationship with you. Just me personally, kind of. All right. And then what are your like people who know you in real life? Like what are the like Deloitte guys, if you're friends with it, like what do they think of what you do? And just, I'm sure it was, a transition for everyone. I'm just curious, like how that went. Cause I know it took me years literally to like show my parents and everything, like this is something that can actually be done full time and all that.
People were more receptive than I thought, because like I would say it was at like the polar opposite, like the corporate CP, like finance world is not, you don't see a lot of people like building e-commerce businesses there. But dude, everyone likes the thought of doing their own thing. So once you realize you're kind of just explaining that, everyone's a lot more receptive. So I would say a lot of people just think, a lot of people are just like, oh, you just sell shit on Amazon. It's like, well, yeah.
Facts,
That's hard to argue with that. But a lot of people are like, I've had so many friends some from work and some just like who I grew up with who hit me up. And I didn't even really like tell them, but they've just like people, whether hanging out with them, asking what I do now, or like a couple of people have found my social media, but I'm like, I don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Miles walks around with business cards. They say flips for Miles. He
definitely
hands them out.
Not, man.
He's out to dinner. And then
No, but I just, they've asked me to like get them started on Amazon.
Yeah.
So then it's like this, oh yeah, everyone it's the freedom of life type of thing over nobody wants to work in a corporate gig and be told what to do every day. So people are more receptive than I thought they would be.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's where it
cool.
gets tricky though, because it's like we all offer coaching. How do you handle those personal connections that want that initial help in terms of getting
Yeah. You
started?
send them the link or like, what's the
Do
deal with
you
that?
do that? Do you
Yeah.
just say, hey, I offer this coaching program, go check it out if you're interested, or what's your response to that?
I haven't coached any of them in the way that I coach my
I
students.
figured. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like such a different relationship, I would say.
And I don't offer it, but a couple have bought my courses because I'm like, it's just this like, I don't, should I offer it free? And they, good
No,
friends-
you shouldn't. You
good
absolutely
friends
should.
want
Yeah.
to pay for your courses. So
Yeah.
most of them are just like, hey, I want to pay you, but I don't want to coach my friends like have students like that. That would be weird. But
Yeah.
there's enough people in this world,
Thanks. Yeah. So Danny, you want to finish this up?
Yeah.
I think you had one final question.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people that are new to this, they see it and they really like the idea and they might think they're able to do it in a day, week, even a month. So what is your time frame from when you're searching for that
That's a
niche
good
or that
question.
product
That is a good
to
question.
when? So like you're searching for it and it's active on Amazon. What is that average time frame you'd say?
Yeah, so that got the global logistics madness of this.
Forgetting what's
yeah.
going on right now with that. What would you say you're at?
You got to take that into account for private label. So you search, and then as soon as you order something, it'll take between 40 and 60 days to get here.
Wow. That's tough.
Are you're shipping via ship?
Yeah, so I guess that's a good point. You could airship it and it would be 10 to
Right.
14 days. But typically when you find a product, it's going to launch in 60 days. So you find a product and then 45 to 60 days later, you're live and launching. So that really product research, like finding it usually takes, if you're seasoned and you go in and know what to do, you can find it that day. But if you don't, at least a couple of weeks of product research before you green light something, because you need to compare a lot of different products and markets.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
All
order
right.
prototypes? Sorry, one last.
Yep.
Do you order prototypes before they launch in terms of you
Oh,
found
Garrett.
something, you found the supplier, you don't want to go fully deep, you want to order a couple just to test it out?
I'm gonna be honest, my man, you cut out for a little.
Yeah, Garrett, your Wi-Fi held on so good until the end here. But he asked, do you order prototypes of stuff?
Oh, 100%. Sample test everything before you launch it.
Cool.
So sample
Dope.
test it. If you make a change, you should really sample test that. You don't have to, but
Mhm.
I would.
You should. Yeah.
It's
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So where can people find you on socials?
Twitter is at WishSend.
WishSend. Such a good name, dude. So clean. Nice seven characters there. But
It's-
dope, man. You guys go check him out. Got some different private label offerings. Thank you for being our second guest and first private label guest on the show here. But yeah, everyone go check Michael out on socials. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions about anything. We really, really appreciate you guys listening. Have a great day, everyone.
Keep crushing it, bro.